No pressure, Don.
Thank you, sir.
God bless.
This is not in my script, but I thought this week about what I was going to say, and I thought I'm not going to talk about the big E word. That's economy. I didn't have to. The two guys behind me have already done it this morning. If I can get you to think for a minute, to imagine what our church would be like without the following. No campus ministry for college students. No day school. No logos. No choir. And since the 8:30 service, no organ. No Stevens ministry. No global and local missions. No security personnel. No television ministry. Okay, enough of this nonsense, you say. We have these programs. Well, you are correct, but at some point in our church's history, members took a huge leap of faith and decided to start these programs. And I imagine that they were part of a stewardship campaign. Today, we kick off our stewardship campaign for the year 2009. As I begin, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Why do you come to church? Why do you bring your children to church? What are you looking to receive from the church? Most importantly, what do you give to God in the church for all the blessings He has given you through the church? I would ask that in the next few weeks that you pray and seek God's guidance concerning your stewardship for the year 2009. To assist you in this journey, I'd like to call your attention to the front of the bulletin. There you will see a series of home events that will educate and inspire you about our many programs. I personally ask each of you to sign up today. Some of you already have. Tables are located or will be located out front after the worship service and in the back at the reception hall. I would ask that you note that the event for the day at the Burnhams is actually next Sunday the 19th and not today. And also the event for next Sunday after church with lunch, which includes all of the new members, is important that if you're going to attend that one, you RSVP because there is lunch being provided. Lately, I've been thinking about Edward Featherton, William Root, James Norman, Richard Morris, David Dean, Thomas McCrary, John Johnson, Jane Marks, Harriet Root, Leah Norman, Miriam Dean, Eliza Bullock, Rebecca Featherton, and Sarah DeGraffenreid. I have tried to imagine this weekend what the first stewardship campaign looked like and consisted of for these 14 founding members of our church. If you want to get a grasp of what the number 14 is, that's the number of choir members sitting on the first two rows of the choir today. 14 people. Their names are on the historical marker right outside here. But what you probably notice out there every Sunday is the tree that all the children love to climb. We all walk by that marker. I challenge you today when you leave, stop at that marker, read the 14 names on it, and imagine what they were thinking for the first stewardship campaign of First Presbyterian Church. Some of the same things we're thinking today. Also imagine that the pastor in that first campaign stood up and read Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call Ed Adams III forward. The next few Sundays, we're going to have several church members coming forward to tell us their story about their involvement in the church and why they consider it important during this time that we're thinking about stewardship. Ed?
Good morning. I've been a member of this church pretty much as long as I can remember, and it has been a really big blessing to me. When I was thinking about what I was going to write this morning, during the 8:45 service, I thought about a little something that happened a couple weeks ago, and it really kind of tugged at the heartstrings a little bit. A gentleman came up. My usher team was up, and a gentleman came up the front steps back here, and got to talking to him. And he had never been to this church before. He had heard a little bit about the campus ministry through CSU. He had seen it on TV, but he just this morning something told him to get up and come down here and come see what this was all about. At that time, we had another member show up and walk up and introduce him, and she said, "Well, son, do you have someone to sit with in church?" And he said, "No, I don't." And she said, "Will you come sit with me?" This story really got to me because it got me thinking. Without the ministry of the television ministry, the campus ministries, all this gentleman would not have gotten here. But once we get these people down here, once we bring in new people, our job is not finished. It's then that we need to give them, welcome them with open arms, and ask them, "Will you come sit with me?" So I just want you to think about that during the stewardship campaign, and please, and just remember that little story. Thank you.